Hello, I'm Corey, and welcome to the Core Dog Experience, where I talk Ohio State Buckeyes. If afterwards you're feeling the set, if you're feeling this segment, please hit the like button. If you like Buckeye talk in general, please subscribe. So, the brackets are out, the Buckeyes are in. How long we gonna stay in? We don't know because of recent history. It hasn't been good. So, are we gonna be happy about March Madness? Or are we gonna be mad about how March played out? But 2022 might be a new era dawning. Who knows how it's going to play out? But we're in number 7 seed. Got a tough first round opponent in Loyola of Chicago. We know their history. I believe what Sister Jean and the folks are getting ready to play us, and they have a more recent history of success than Ohio State does. Last year they got to the Sweet 16, but knocking off Illinois on the way. So it's going to be a tough first round matchup. So hopefully our boys are going to be ready to go out there and play and do better than what they have done in previous years. Like I mentioned, our Lady Buckeyes are also in the tournament. They're a number 6 seed, and they have a favorable matchup, I believe, as well in that first round. They're playing one of the play-in winners between Missouri State and Florida State, and I see them winning that first round game. But we'll talk about them a little bit more in a second. But let's focus on our gentlemen here. Quick recap of the season. Think they did well considering some of the setbacks they had at the beginning of the season with Justice Suing being unavailable. We kind of predicted Seth Pounds would not be available. So given missing that type of personnel and what they were able to contribute, we had some obstacles to overcome early on in the season, and they did that for pretty much of the season. They were able to overcome that stuff. What hurt them down the stretch, though, is when our man, Justin Ahrens, got a case of the yips and just could never seem to get over him down the stretch. He just never got his shooting touch back once he lost it. So hopefully in the tournament someone can wave a magic wand over Justin and he can get his shooting touch back, because they're going to need it, especially in that first round matchup with Loyola of Chicago, because they're not going to be intimidated, scared at all of Ohio State. And I think mid-majors mostly aren't intimidated anymore when it comes to playing the higher seeds. They're just not. There's just been too many examples over previous tournaments where lower seeded mid-majors, if you want to even call them mid-majors anymore, are knocking off some of the big boys. So all it takes is just one good player surrounded by some good role players that know the roles and play two of the roles. You can get these upsets. So hopefully Ohio State comes ready to play. And hopefully Chris Holtmann can start turning around the narrative a little bit about his tournament performances while he's been here at Ohio State. Because it's not a good result when you look at his tournament performances. A small sample size, albeit, but it's not a very good one either in the Big Ten tournament or like I was saying, the NCAA tournament. So since he's been here, let's look at the Big Ten tournament in general. His first year, 2018, I believe we came into the Big Ten tournament as a number 2 seed. I believe we got the double bye, and we ultimately lost our very first contest to Penn State. Penn State's just a thorn on our side. It seems they knocked us out this year, but Penn State beat us that year in 2018 when we were a number 2 seed in the Big Ten tournament. We followed up that 2018 Big Ten tournament's performance by losing in the second round of the NCAA tournament, I believe as a higher seed. Okay, first year in, all right, we'll give you a pass on that. 2019 Big Ten tournament, we were number 8 seed, I believe. We did beat Indiana, and then we subsequently lost to Michigan State, which was expected. So can't really complain about that one. But again, in the NCAA tournament, we again saw another second round exit. 2020, everything got canceled by the COVID. So 2021, Chris Holtmann did his thing in the tournament. We came in, I believe, a number 5 seed or something that year in 2021. Beat Minnesota, beat Purdue, knocked off Michigan. They were the number 1 seed in 2021, and we lost to Illinois in the Big Ten championship game. It went into overtime. So the Buckeye faithful were like, all right, that's a good loss. Yeah, Kofi and Io, ain't going to try to pronounce his last name, but that was a good Illinois team. And we took them to overtime. We lost in the Big Ten championship game. So we just knew we were about ready to do some damage in the NCAA tournament. We got a number 2 seed, I believe, but Oral Roberts had other ideas. They knocked us out in the first round, and that's when the Chris Holtmann criticism started kicked up a notch. So hopefully this time around, he can turn it around. Not much is expected of Ohio State this year. A lot of folks are even predicting Loyola of Chicago to beat them. In some of the brackets I was doing, they did an analysis of the brackets in general of who folks were picking, and it's about over 50% of the folks, even in the brackets, are picking Loyola of Chicago to beat Ohio State. So not much is expected of the Buckeyes, and when not much is expected of you, that's when you can sometimes do some stuff, do some damage. So hopefully that'll be one of those times this year. Given the health issues, hopefully we can get Kyle Young back. Hopefully we can get Zed Key back. I believe they're game time decisions. Hopefully we can get them back, because we're gonna need everything we can get in that first round game. Speaking of brackets, I do believe we're going to beat Loyola of Chicago. I don't know if that's the homer in me speaking, but we ought to be able to beat them. We played to the level of our competition pretty much all year. I mean, we knocked off Duke. We went into Illinois, knocked off Illinois. It took Purdue a last-minute buzzer beater to beat us, and then we just blown leads down the stretch. We can just hang on to our leads, we'd be all right, but we can't seem to hold on to any of our leads. So the homer in me says we're going to beat Loyola of Chicago. So that puts us into the round of 32, where we're potentially looking at a matchup with Villanova. I believe they're the number 2 seed. And again, the homer in me is going to creep out because I don't know much about Villanova. I think if we play to how we're capable of, anytime you're able to beat Duke, the potential is there to beat some teams. And despite their late season struggles, I think a weight may hopefully lift it off their shoulders. Hopefully Justin can get his shooting stroke back. Branham, Lydell, hopefully they can get going. And I can see us potentially knocking off Villanova. The homer me speaking thinks we can do it. And I know I'm being a homer, so I'm being a homer. I think we can knock off Villanova and get to the Sweet 16, where we're potentially looking at a matchup with Tennessee, or if by some chance Michigan can knock off Tennessee. If it's Tennessee, I think we've gone about as far as we're going to go, which I'll take. It'll be the first time in I don't know how many years that Ohio State has reached the Sweet 16. But if we can get there, I'll take it. And I would consider that a good tournament run for Chris Holtmann, given some of the setbacks he's had this year, given the shooting difficulties of Justin Arns. We can get to the Sweet 16. That'll be good. I think we will have exceeded expectations for this year. And Coach Holtmann, he needs it. I think he could really use a good run this year in the NCAA tournament. And sticking to the men in general now for the Big Ten, this is the March Madness is one of the few times I really root for the conference as a whole. Bowl games, I'll cheer on the Big Ten conference as a whole, but March Madness I really get into rooting for the conference as a whole. Even our boys up north, I root for the Big Ten in the March Madness tournament. We got 9 teams this year. There's no excuses. We're recognized as the best conference. I think we have been recognized as the best conference for the past couple years now. So now we have to start backing it up with how we perform in these postseason tournaments. I mean, we always ride and knock how SEC gets favoritism in football. I mean, when they get to the bowl games, for the most part, they back it up. They back it up. So we complain about it, but they back it up. So we got to start backing it up in basketball. We took that mantle from the ACC. I do believe we are the best basketball conference, but we got to start backing it up here in March Madness in the tournament. And we really need to do something this year, because it's been a long dry spell for the Big Ten in actually winning the NCAA tournament. Because I was looking it up, and the Big Ten has not won. That's not actually won the Big Ten, the NCAA championship since 2000. Michigan State was the last Big Ten team to actually win the whole thing. We got into the championship a lot of times between 2009. Ohio State got there once in 2007 under Thad Matta. But Big Ten has not been able to win the whole thing since 2000. Michigan got there in 2018. Looking at my list here, Wisconsin got there in 2015. Michigan again in 2013. Michigan State 2009. I should mention us in 2007. Illinois and Indiana in 2005 and 2002 respectively. Made it to the championship game, but didn't win it. Didn't bring it home. Michigan State was the last team to do so back in 2000. That's a long dry spell. If you're the best conference in basketball, we should be sending half our teams to the Sweet 16, depending on how the brackets. I haven't looked at all the brackets, but we should be sending at least, we got 9 teams in, we should be sending at least 4 or 5 to the Sweet 16 at least. One of our teams needs to get to the championship game to confirm we are the best conference here in basketball. So that's take on the men's side. And Chris Holtmann, I know folks are calling for his job already. I don't think his job's in any jeopardy despite what he does here in this tournament, but he does need to start turning it around. Given his early exit again in the Big Ten tournament, he needs to do something here in the NCAA tournament, start turning that narrative somewhat on what's being starting to be said about him and his tournament performances. All right, so on another moving on to the ladies and Coach McGuff. Now, I know there's a lot of criticism of Chris Holtmann for his tournament performances, but I think McGuff, given the talent level she's had over the years, has actually done a worse job. And he really needs to start performing here in the postseason. He did an outstanding job this year. She did something what many didn't think he would do. We shared the Big Ten regular season championship with, I believe, a couple teams as it played out. None bigger. That big win in Iowa, that seemed that's just a lot of momentum in helping secure that a share of the Big Ten title. But now he needs to back it up here in the NCAAs. Again, he lost in the Big Ten tournament. I had him going further than what he did. But he needs to start backing up his tournament performances with the talent that he has. And another knock I have against Coach McGuff is we just have a high rate of players that have transferred out. I mean, do you think we could really use Dorka Juhas right now? I don't know why she transferred. She's at UConn, and looking at some of the highlights, and every time you see UConn highlights, she's on the bench, it seems. It's like she transferred to UConn and just became, I don't know, another another role player. If she had stayed, she would have been not only a star of Ohio State, she would have been a star in the Big Ten. She was already a star when she had transferred out. So I don't know if she's chasing the title, not thinking Ohio State wasn't going to get there. I know there have been some issues with Ohio State, but she transferred out, went to UConn, and she's just another player there. Here she would have been a star. She would have been the person, and you can imagine pairing her up with J.C. Sheldon, Taylor Mikesell. We would have been, I believe, a top 10 team. Again, we had another Aaliyah Patty transferred out. It's like all our big people transferred out. And normally I don't miss transfers, but I think we're really missing what Dorka Juhas would have been able to contribute this year for the Lady Buckeyes. And the Shebron transferred out. Like I said, I don't miss transfers. I don't miss her. I don't even remember what her name is. I just remember we had someone named Shebron. She transferred out. I'm not missing her because JC and Taylor Mikesell, they've lit it up this year. We've had a good supporting cast. It did hurt when Madison Green got hurt. We missed her, and the Buckeyes are still able to do what they did. So just imagine if we would have had a healthy Madison Green, if Dorka had not transferred out, this Buckeyes team would have been formidable. But hats off to Kevin McGuff. He parlayed this season into a regular season co-conference championship. Now we need to see him do it in the tournament, because I think he's wasted a lot of great teams in the tournament. To me, he really wasted the Kelsey Mitchell era. Some of the teams he had surrounded around her, while he couldn't have done more in the NCAA tournament, is still beyond me. But again, hopefully he can start doing something to change his narrative as well in terms of the NCAA tournament, which we haven't been to. Just talking on McGuff, we haven't been there since 2018, minus the COVID year. But this is our first time we've been there since 2018. So he really needs to do something, and I think he has the opportunity to. We get the winner of the playing game between Missouri State and Florida State. So I see us winning that game. Then that leads us to a potential second round matchup with LSU, and not knowing a great deal about the women's game, but I know for how State plays, the way they're capable of playing. They get some more contributions from to help out with JC and Taylor Mikesell. If we get Rebecca, I'm not going to even attempt her last name, but if we can get Rebecca going, if we can get some contributions from Harris and from Kateri Poole, who should be playing more. She's a great outside shooter. We should be playing her even more to my liking. Well, I think we have a legit chance of advancing at least to the Sweet 16. I think we can. If it is LSU, I think we have a good shot at beating LSU. Again, nothing's going to be really expected of this team. They weren't expected to be co-conference champions, given who transferred out. So I think they can do some damage as well. And I think Kevin McGuff really needs to take advantage of this opportunity and advance further than what he's done with previous teams that I thought were better talent-wise. And again, like with the men, I root for the women to do well in the Big Ten tournament. And it's been a long dry spell for the women as well. Our lone NCAA championship on the women's side is 1999 and that Purdue team. That was an unbelievable Purdue team. I actually remember some of their games. So I'm rooting for the Big Ten to do well in this year's tournament. So hopefully they can put it together and do some stuff. Predictions for our two Ohio State teams. Like I said, I think we can get potentially to the Sweet 16 on both sides, but I do think that is our ceiling for both of this year's squads. If they go past the Sweet 16, that by far exceeds expectations for several folks, and I'm rooting for them to do so. So hopefully they can do that, and we'll see how this tournament plays out. So good luck to both of them. And while we're talking brackets and moving on and trying to do well, a quick shout out to our lady hockey team. I ain't gonna even pretend to know anything about hockey or women's college hockey in general. I just know our ladies team's the number one seed, and they made it to the Frozen Four, which I guess is the Final Four of hockey. So I have my periphery on them as well, and be wishing them to do well on that front. So, a lot of good things going on right now in Buckeye land and basketball and hockey, and hopefully our teams can do well in both of those endeavors. So we'll see how it goes. Those are my homer predictions. I hope they do well. Start turning around some of these narratives that are starting to creep in for Holtmann, and hopefully McGuff can start doing something for the ladies and start. Because I think our ladies team should be doing more than what they've done in the past. So hopefully they can start doing something and start turning this thing around. And this is the good time to do it here in this upcoming NCAA tournament. So with that said, thank you for tuning in. If you'd like to leave any comments on how you think the men's and women's teams are going to do this year, are you happy with what Holtmann did this year? Are you happy with what McGuff did this year? Please chime in on the comments. How do you think each team's going to do in the tournament? Do you see them another first round exit? Do you see the cries getting louder for Holtmann if it is another first round exit? For those that follow women's basketball, how happy are you with the job Kevin McGuff has done? I think he exceeded expectations this year, being co-champs of the regular season, but his tournament record, like with Holtmann's, is something to be desired. So how do y'all feel about that? And what are your bracket? Have you filled out your bracket? How far do you have Ohio State going? How far do you have any Big Ten team going? Do you see a Big Ten team winning it this year? So feel free to leave your opinions in the comment section. Again, if you like this segment, please hit the like button. If you like Buckeye Talk in general, please subscribe. Thank you again for taking your time out to view the Core Dog Experience. And until next time, go Bucks, OHIO. Thank you.